But I think it's clear at this point that, Bitcoin is a better form of money than gold. It is provably scarce, just like gold, but it's more portable and divisible. So you can actually use it. Has higher utility, I would say. And it was the best performing asset of the last 10 years. And so for store of value, I think it's going to be important for governments to hold this over time. It might start with being 1% of their reserves, but I think over time it'll come to be equal to or greater than gold reserves.
So there you have Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. He's sitting here telling you that governments are going to start with 1% of Bitcoin being a part of their reserves. Now, he said it's going to pass the amount of gold they have in reserves. So this is just starting now. Bitcoin is about to go parabolic to the upside, and this is the beginning of the game. With that, what's happening, Crypto Crew? Sean's coming back at you in a cryptocurrency video. Getting straight into it, we see BlackRock buying another 3,500 Bitcoin. That's 12,500 Bitcoin in 3 days. Check this chart out here. You'll see the total IBIT inflows, and it's starting to have an uptick. The institutions are back buying and holding strong. And right here, ARK Invest updates its 2030 Bitcoin price predictions. Their bear case is 500,000. So that's within less than the next 5 years, $500,000 Bitcoin. Base case, this is what just should happen on a normal trajectory. You're looking at 1.2 million and a bull case for $2.4 million. Are you continuing to stack sats, and are you prepared for what's coming? And right here, you're seeing this fractal pattern, the global M2 money supply in Bitcoin. Global M2 is a leading indicator. We're going to look at that here in a chart in a second here. But you see these lines almost are parallel to one another. Every time we see a bottoming out, we see a bottoming out with a lagging indicator. Same thing with the peak, and the peak for Bitcoin, bottoming out, peak. If this is any correlation and correspondence of what's going on, we could be seeing that peak sometime in early August or sometime in July of this year, if this holds true. We'll look at this in the charts here in a second. But before we check that out, check this chart out. The confluence from just stair stepping its way up is poetry in motion. Look here, we have the breakout, hit our head, trade in a sideways channel, retest the key level before we blast off, trade in the sideways channel after the breakout, have that retest of the key level, and then see this blast off again to the fib extension 135 to 140,000. We've showed you that in the charts, but let's check out the charts. Current time is recording, we're seeing 93.6K. What do we see? What do we anticipate? So this yellow line here is the global M2 money supply. And what are we looking at, and what do we need to pay attention to? So from this peak, the previous peak of the M2 back on September 30th, how long did it take the price action to then put in a new all-time high? If we zoom in here, there's a lot going on, a lot of lines. So we're going to draw horizontal from the peak, and then we see the price action here. So let's pull this back down, and we didn't see a new all-time high until about 41 days later. And that's when we blasted off. This was a very parabolic moment. So you see the global M2 led the way, had its peak, and then Bitcoin followed, and then seen a new all-time high 41 days later. Well, look where we are right now. The M2 has put in a new all-time high. Look here, hold this line up. So from the previous peak to the next time we see a new all-time high, what was that length and time? We could see that this is roughly 156 days. So if we pull this 156 days to forward, when could we be seeing new all-time highs for Bitcoin? That would be putting us in new all-time high territory around the end of May. So either way you cut the cloth, we're going to be stair stepping our way up to 106 to 110,000. And could we be seeing new all-time highs going into the summer? You be the judge. And right here, breaking news. Federal Reserve Board announces the withdrawal of guidance for banks related to their crypto, asset, and dollar token activities and related changes to expectations for these activities. The US banks no longer need to notify the Federal Reserve regarding Bitcoin, stablecoin, and other crypto activities. This is a massive win for the market, and this is showing that adoption is underway. And without further ado, we have a price prediction from Adam Beck, and you don't want to miss this, so make sure you watch it to the end, what he sees happening over the next year. Let's hear from Adam.
The fact that we had an end of epoch new all-time high, 73.5, just before the halving, kind of I viewed as a kind of confirmation that it would have gone higher if not for all of those headwinds. And so, I think it's probably incorrect to draw too many inferences from the last cycle. And so, if you take that out, I think that there's a lot of positive news that $100,000 is way too cheap. I expect we'll end the year much higher, and we get between 500,000 and a minimum and a million during this cycle. So we'll see if that transpires. And I think the other thing is, people talk about diminishing returns and different models. I mean, models are not necessarily that predictive, but stock to flow, power law, various other models, and they are this diminishing return theory. Like technically an S curve, like adoption of internet, adoption of mobile phones when they first came out, things like that. They go through a gradual phase where it's kind of niche thing and it's expensive and very few people have it, and then it becomes a social phenomenon when everybody has it, and the adoption starts to get steeper, right? So it could almost be the opposite, right? People are calling for diminishing returns, but maybe there are 100 million people with some form of Bitcoin exposure. That can reach a tipping point when there are a few more people that have it, so that everybody's talking about it and they're starting to use it.
So there we see a price prediction from Adam Beck. He's telling you $500,000 to $1 million this cycle, and potentially the theory of diminishing returns could be going away. That could be broken this cycle. All the institutional money pouring into Bitcoin, you be the judge. And with that, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. If you guys like this content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate each and every one of you. And with that, I'm out.